Welcome back to this Locked On NFL Crossover Thursday edition, brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Download the app and use code Locked On NFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. I'm Julian Council, the host of Locked On Panthers. He is James Yarko, the host of Locked On Bucks. It is a big game in the NFC South this Sunday, 4:05 Eastern Time, inside Bank of America Stadium. The Falcons are sitting at 6-5. And they're facing off against the Chargers on Sunday. I think they're going to lose that game. Tampa sitting at 5-6, one game back of a team that has a tiebreaker over them. Carolina sitting at 3-8. There is opportunity abound for both these teams in the final 6 weeks of the season if they can win out potentially. Certainly for Tampa, you win out, you're going to win the division. But for Carolina, not much margin for error for them. They would likely need to go 9-8 in order to win this division. Big divisional round game, and you did not expect that to happen December 1st between, I think, at least for Carolina. I didn't think they'd be in a game at this point in time based on how things were going earlier this season, but they're in it, James, and there are three things that the Bucs must do, the three things that the Panthers must do. What are the three things that Tampa must do in order to come out on top and get back to 500 and have a chance to possibly be in first place in the NFC South come Sunday evening?
They have to dominate in the run game. They have to keep the pressure high, and they cannot beat themselves. I talked about it at the top of the show, Bucky Irving and his explosive game against the Giants. The Giants were the worst team in the NFL in allowing 25-plus yard runs this season. The Carolina Panthers dead last in yards allowed on the ground per game at 160. The Bucs are 10th in the NFL in running the ball, averaging 128 yards. This is going to be another Bucky Irving game. He is going to set the tone early. You're going to have Rashad playing his role. You're going to have Sean Tucker playing his role, but this is going to be Bucky Irving setting the tone. The first guy that gets to him is not going to take him down. He had 87 rushing yards last week against the Giants. He had 89 rushing yards after contact. The first guy is not taking him down. So he's a slippery, quick dude, and he's going to infuriate some Panthers fans. But when you're going up against the worst rushing defense in the NFL and you have one of the most electric running backs, emerging, you have to utilize him and you have to control the clock, especially on the road. Take that crowd out of it early. Keeping the pressure high. They beat the snot out of Tommy DeVito last week. 4 sacks. He was constantly on the ground. I thought at one point Kalijah Kancey had cracked his ribs all the way through to come out the other side of his body. Treat Bryce Young the way you treated Tommy DeVito and the way you've treated Jalen Hurts the last 3 times that you faced the Eagles. Continuously knock him around. That dude has gotten way too comfortable in the pocket over the last couple of weeks to the point that he is resembling a quarterback that I cannot make fun of on my show anymore. That needs to stop right now. So knock him around, take him to the ground. Vita, Kalijah, Yaya Diaby, Antoine Winfield Jr., Levante David, all these guys bring the pressure all day and really put the Panthers behind the sticks. And then don't beat yourselves. This is a football team that the Buccaneers should beat. Do not shoot yourselves in the foot with turnovers, with stupid penalties, with negating first downs, with holding calls, giving free first downs with defensive holdings and pass interferences and roughing the passers and all that stupid stuff that teams do and then end up losing against a team that they should beat. That's it for the Bucs. Yeah, I think the familiarity with Canales is canceled out with his familiarity with Bowles. I don't think any team gets an advantage there. So just go out and made the better team win.
Yeah, the Panthers have not been a great run defense. You have that correct this season. In recent weeks, they have been better, even though they're still giving up 100 yards rushing every single week. They've been better in terms of tackling. And you look at some of the yards per attempt in these games, like Denver, they ran for 130, but it's not like Javonte Williams or McLaughlin, I think, is the other running back there. It's not like they were breaking out any big runs. Even last week, there wasn't a ton of big runs either for Kansas City, and in the Giants, same kind of case. So they done a better job, at least, of making their opponents work for more of those yardages, but they're still giving up those yardages. And it'll be interesting to see how that pans out on Sunday against Bucky Irving, who I love them at Oregon, and it's cool to see him have success. I guess I wish it wasn't against Tampa Bay, but whatever. It is what it is. He's a good player. It was bound to happen eventually. And then, you talk about, too, on the other side of the ball, Carolina, they went to work with the offensive line this offseason, trying to rework that, signing Robert Hunt to a $100 million deal, Damon Lewis to a $69 million deal, bringing Austin Corbett, moving him to center, and they've only given up 20 sacks so far this year after giving up 62, I think, last year, 65. It was something absurd. So that has been improved, and they have not necessarily had one of those games where they have looked like they are completely outflanked and have no idea who to block. Now, when blitzes have come, sometimes they have not had the best communication at certain times. And I know Todd Bowles likes a blitz, so we'll see if that will be the case on Sunday in this game. As far as Carolina goes, I mean, you talk about it, familiarity. Maybe it cancels itself out, but if it doesn't, like, Dave Canales has got to find a way to win the battle of familiarity against Todd Bowles, who hired him last year and sat there and watched his offense. And there was a comment made this offseason by Savasier Dennis, the linebacker there in Tampa, saying that Dave Canales' offense is a little blasé, that there wasn't a lot of motion and movement, kind of like what Liam Cohen does. So I wonder, I don't think Dave Canales is one of those guys that's going to take that personally, but possibly he thinks about that, and maybe he's asked about it depending on the result of the game on Sunday. So we'll see if he can win that battle of familiarity with the defensive coaching staff, but also the defensive players who went up against his offense a year ago. Number two, they got to finish in the red zone. If they did that last week, James, I think they beat Kansas City. They were 2 for 6 in the red zone. Now, KC was only 2 for 5, but still, Carolina moved the ball down the field all day long on that Chiefs offense. I can only recall, I think, 1, maybe 2 3-and-outs, which, as we talked about earlier, that is customary for a Dave Canales offense at some point in time in the game. But they were able to get the ball up and down the field for the most part. The Panthers are 10th in the NFL in red zone touchdown scoring percentage, which I actually was surprised to see. Tampa's 16th defensively in the red zone. So Carolina, been a better red zone offense, and the Bucs have been a better red zone defense, not by a wide margin, but certainly that's an area where if they want to win this game, they got to capitalize. If you look at the game they played in week 4 against Cincinnati at home, had to capitalize in the red zone to start that game. Maybe they win that game as well. So got to end drives. When you get there, you got to finish, something that Dave Canales said on Sunday after that game. And number 3, Bryce Young's got to continue to progress. He has played his best football in 3 consecutive weeks as a Carolina Panther. Thought he played well against the Saints. His numbers weren't great against New York, but he made some timely throws, helped them win that game, put him in position, of course, to win that. And then last week, I felt like that was the best performance he has ever had. Statistically, it was last year against Green Bay. But looking at the opponent, the defense, Spagnuolo, all of it, I thought that was the best performance that we have seen out of Bryce Young. And now he's going up against a team that has had, as you said, those defensive struggles, some injuries there in the secondary. Let's see. He's not going to have Jalen Coker. The rookie wide receiver is going to miss his second week in a row. He's not going to have JT Sanders, his rookie tight end. He's got to lean on Adam Thielen, got to lean on Xavier Legette, and David Moore, who had a really good game last week. And he was there last year in Tampa. So we'll see if they can do that. So got to win the battle of familiarity, finish in the red zone, and Bryce Young needs to keep doing what he's been doing the last couple of weeks if they're going to win this game on Sunday. Any final thoughts from the Bucs perspective of things heading into this game?
Bold prediction. Whoever wins this game finishes ahead of the Falcons in the NFC South.
Oh, okay. So Carolina still has one more game left against Atlanta. So that is certainly positive because they win this, they go to 4-8. If they beat Atlanta, that probably brings them within like another game right there. I like that.
Go ahead and check mark Panthers over the Falcons. That's a dub.
They're like Carolina sitting here where it's Tampa twice over the next 6 weeks. That's a playoff contender. They got Philadelphia next week, who they're going to win their division again. They have Arizona as well. The only respite is the Dallas Cowboys, if you want to call that a respite, after they just went out there and beat the Commanders on Sunday. So Carolina's going to be grinding to get that.
That's a division game. You got to throw out the records in division games. That's why we're talking about how both of these teams are still in the playoff race now because the Falcons are falconing. But yeah, I mean, the Cowboys are terrible. I'm so glad that the Bucs get to face them in Jerry World on prime time.
Oh boy,
that's gonna be hilarious.
Will that be the latest Dallas beatdown there at home? Because those happen seemingly every time they play at AT&T Stadium.
I probably, but I think that's the weekend after Christmas.
Okay. Yeah. Well, hopefully they find a curtain so that their receiver doesn't get blinded by the sun. We'll see if Jerry's figured that one out just yet.